On this episode of Locked On Angels, the Angels split the weekend series against the Dodgers. They surprised us on Friday and did what we expected on Saturday. And John and I are going to consider this question. Do we miss Shohei Ohtani? It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, it is. And yes, we are. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all this Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe, become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's really one of the best ways to get in touch with John and I and be a part of the conversation. And today's show is brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use our promo code LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100.
Happy Monday to you, and thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
It's our third season here at Locked On Angels. We're talking Angels baseball Monday through Friday, every single weekday. We appreciate you being here with us and being an everydayer. On today's show, we're going to recap the two games against the Dodgers. Weird two-game set.
Yeah.
I know we're playing them for two games in September, so it evens out, but it's kind of an odd situation. No baseball yesterday. That was like, what do I do? What do I do with my hands? I don't know what to do. But we're going to recap those games for you, and we'll get into a conversation. Do Mike and John miss Shohei? We'll talk all about that. Mike, talk about Friday's game. The Angels won that one 3-2.
Can I do this? Shohei Ohtani walks twice, singles, and hits a 455-foot two-run home run as the Angels defeat the Dodgers 3-2. This tungsten thing is fun when you're not the butt of the joke, right?
Right. Yeah. And it really was that kind of a game, Mike, because the rest of the offense for the Dodgers was very quiet. And I think Shohei did Shohei things
right
against the
exactly
Angels.
What he's supposed to be doing. And it was rough to be on the other side of it, but I've talked to Dodger fans who are friends of mine. I don't know how we're friends, but somehow it worked out. But they have talked about Shohei, and I said, watch out, June is Shohei's month. He's going to win the MVP this month. He'll cool off, not necessarily stop just killing people and playing incredible. He'll cool off and not hit a home run every other game for the rest of the season, but June, he's going to go off. That's typically what Shohei did with the Angels. The big news in this game, Johnny, was Patrick Sandoval. He was removed with left forearm tightness, only threw 34 pitches in this game, 2 1/3 innings pitched. Sandy said it was really painful. It was something I've never felt before, so it was pretty scary. I felt it in the middle of that at bat, and I tried to push through. Now, he threw it and then immediately called the trainer, shook his arm. They said it's an elbow strain.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting diagnosis. I know it's frustrating as Angel fans because we're not sure what sort of information that we're getting from these guys. Is it accurate? Is it appropriate?
I'm not even questioning that. It's just, what does this become? Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to diagnose, Tommy John, there it is right there. You can't diagnose that in the first few days.
Yeah.
But going from forearm tightness to elbow strain, like, that's not a good pathway. That's a pathway to the dark side, as Yoda put it. I'm pretty sure that's what he said, right?
Sure.
Forearm strain to forearm tightness to elbow strain. So that's just that's not a good sign.
No,
for Patrick Sandoval at all. And Zuniga, Gio Zuniga was called up from AAA to fill that spot. And of course, nice to have some fresh relief arms coming back up to the team. And Hans Kraus was called up over the weekend as well. So seeing some familiar faces and some new faces out of the bullpen. But Mike, what do we do? Who takes his place in this rotation? The Angels lost Soriano to that abdomen or that stomach infection that he's got going on too. So we're suddenly we're talking about, like, what do they do when Silseth and Reed come back and da-da-da? Now it's like, who's left? What do we do?
Well, you just said, I think last week on the show or the week before, you said, all of this seems to work itself
It's
out.
true,
And so
yeah,
this
for
happens
better, for
often
worse.
with teams, right? And happens often with the Angels. Now, Sam Blum tweeted the reports on Reed Detmers, according to Ron Washington, haven't been good enough to warrant him being called up yet. Now, his last 2 starts, 13 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, 12 Ks, 6 walks. Johnny, do the Halos have the luxury to wait on Reed Detmers, or do you think they just need to bring him back up because of these injuries that are hitting their starting rotation?
No, they have the luxury, and they need to keep him down in AAA, because just to put a little bit more detail onto those comments from Ron Washington, it's the coaches and the people watching Reed work down there that have said, he probably needs a little bit more time. Mike, this is the exact opposite of how the Angels have operated the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And always out of a necessity. It was, oh man, we got to get that guy back. We got to get him back up because we're short and da-da-da. Not this time.
Yeah.
Don't do it this time, because Reed Detmers clearly has things to work on. Now, we did talk about his first start compared to his second start, and how the first one was just hit that strike zone.
Yep.
Practice.
A lot of hits, lots of runs.
Yeah. And that was okay, because that's what he needed to be working on. And so if the people down there who are observing him say that he's not ready, needs a little bit more time, then let him stay. You've got guys like Davis Daniel. You've got, as much as he stunk on Saturday, you got Zach Plesac. What are you playing for?
Yeah.
You're not playing for anything right now. So don't squander the luxury that you have of keeping Reed Detmers down in the minor leagues so that he can work on stuff.
Okay, let me talk about the game just a bit. So after Sandy left, Strickland comes in, follows Sandy with an inning and 2/3. Then Matt Moore comes in, pitches an inning, did give up that 2-run shot to Ohtani. Ben Joyce comes in, John, goes 2 innings. His first inning got the Dodgers 1-2-3, including a great play by Neto at short. He's got that slide hop thing that he's got going on over there. Pretty great. We'll talk about his injury in the next segment. Second inning, he got another 1-2-3 inning and got the final batter with a 3-2 fastball on the inside corner. Johnny, he retired all 6 of the batters he faced on 18 pitches, and his fastball averaged 101.1 miles an hour and reached 103. He's throwing some heat out there right now.
It's amazing what adding a little sinker, splinker, splitter action can do for you, because Ben Joyce has looked like a different person since he came back. Luis Garcia, in the first inning, his first inning, walked Ohtani, caught stealing at second, and he got the 2 other hitters for an easy inning. And it was funny to see O'Hoppe throw out his old battery mate, somebody that
dart down the second too.
And he got him tagged on top of the head, I think, on the helmet.
Yep.
But it was just funny to think about, like, man, for as much as those two have worked together, and Ohtani really wanting to work with O'Hoppe, it was just like a great Angels moment to be like, hey, yeah, that's our young guy. Because Ohtani's just been hauling on the bases. So for O'Hoppe to get him was pretty great. Luis Garcia's second inning, he got another 1-2-3. The bullpen responded really well after Sandoval was removed from the game, Mike. They actually went 7 2/3 innings pitched, gave up the 2 runs on the Matt Moore to Ohtani 2-run home run, just 3 hits and 7 Ks from the bullpen. How about those guys? And
then they got on the board with some offense, and they did it in a really unique way. They had 2 on and nobody out. Pilar was up with a chance. He struck out in a 10-pitch at bat. Now, he did admit in Saturday's game, he was on the mic, he did admit that he's now scuffling a bit. He's struggling a bit, and he's got to find it again. He said, this game really humbles you, but it was a great at bat. I think it allowed pitchers, batters behind him to see the repertoire of the pitcher. So O'Hoppe comes up with a chance. He gets hit by a pitch to load the bases. Neto comes up with a chance. He gets hit by a pitch to get an RBI. That one stung. Angels were actually hit 4 times in this game, and it tied a club record. Last time it happened, John, 2004.
Wow.
Against Boston. So it's been a while. Then Moniak comes up, gets a lefty on lefty chance, and does what you're supposed to do against Yarborough. He grounded to second. The only play was first, and the tying run scored. Johnny, it was the ching nickel and dime moment that we love when the Angels are scoring runs that way.
That's the thing, is if you're not going to beat the pitcher, you could at least nickel and dime them and try to get runs any way that you can. Let them get out of trouble. Don't get them out of trouble for them, right? So with the game tied at 2, they went to the 10th inning and extra innings. 2 out, Taylor Ward gets a second hit and singles in Joe Adell, who was the ghost runner and was at third base at that point. That gave the Halos the lead. Mike, Carlos Estevez came in bottom of the 10th, got the save, got the first batter to ground out. That moved the runner to third. The infield was in here. Kike Hernandez was up. Estevez got him on a slider up and above the strike zone to swing and miss. Gavin Lux struck out against Carlos Estevez. And then Carlos Estevez said that he was really proud of the bullpen. Unfortunately, Sandy had to go out with an injury, and we just had his back. That's what we're supposed to do, and we delivered. There was a great article from Jeff Fletcher, too, talking about the changes that Carlos Estevez made. Yeah. It was just a little tweak of the wrist to get his fastball to go where he wants it to go. So, yeah, Friday night was actually a lot of fun. It felt good to just be like the underdog and see those guys get back into the game, and that's what it's been, Mike, is just the young guys coming through and fighting to get back into the game. It's something you really like to see from those young guys.
Well, and I loved that there's always that narrative. This is the Angel Fans World Series. Yes. Yes, it is. Like
at this point, yeah.
At this point, it is. But then somebody retweeted that and commented and said, well, I mean, it's the Dodgers World Series too, because what? They're going to play, 3 more games than us? Because they're going to go to the playoffs and get swept, which I loved. I loved that snarkiness. It was so much fun. But it was one of those games where this is the team that we've seen glimpses of throughout the season. And what they did on Friday, if they can do that more consistently, and that's the key, consistently, this would be a really fun team to watch because they nickeled and dimed. They came back. They got hits when it was necessary. The bullpen came through. It was really a fun game to watch.
A lot different than game 2, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But we want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen today. You can catch the Angels playing the A's at 6:38 Pacific time at the Big A. It's going to be Luis Medina versus Griffin Canning. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels. Coming up, we'll talk about game 2 of the series. It wasn't pretty, why it wasn't pretty, and we'll give you an update on Zach Neto in just a minute.
Johnny and I love sports, and we love them so much that we never want them to stop. And even though the playoffs are winding down and the NBA, it's over, and now NHL, like they have game 7 tonight. By the way, the Panthers were up 3-0. Now it's 3-3 against Edmonton.
Wow.
It's going to be a fun game. So even if you're not a hockey fan,
John Carpino was there for all of it.
That was good. I don't like him. So as everything's kind of winding down and the sports maybe aren't sporting like you want them to, it's always great to connect with our friends at FanDuel. They let us keep engaged in sports whenever we want. All we have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime that we're in the mood. And during the summer, FanDuel is hooking up all of its customers with a boost or bonus daily. I love that. So they're going to give everyone every day a boost or a bonus every single day. So head to FanDuel.com/lockedon and you can start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. And Locked On Angels is also brought to you by PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. And it's the most fun and exciting way to get in on all the action with your favorite sports and players. Now you can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You could turn $10 into $1,000, Jonathan. All you need to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. And if you're looking for promotions, PrizePicks has got you covered every single week, from lowering select player stat projections on Tuesday to helping your lineup get a hit or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Friday. And with the finals in the NBA over, hoops action doesn't need to stop on PrizePicks. Women's basketball is heating up. Man, Caitlin Clark, I'm watching because she's there. Well, my daughter likes Caitlin Clark, so that drew me in. But Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, they're looking to make names for themselves in the WNBA along with Breanna Stewart and Ajay Wilson. And you can win up to 100 times your cash when you watch them ball out. So download the PrizePick app today. Enter our promo code LOCKEDONMLB. They're going to give you a first deposit match of up to $100. So join PrizePicks today. You can pick more, pick less. It's really that easy.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And if you haven't done so already, everydayers, check out Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed just for you to bring you the biggest stories across the sports world. It brings you can't-miss analysis, news, opinions, insights, expectations, all that stuff you're looking for. It's streaming 24/7 on YouTube and the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Speaking of your team every day, the Angels are back at it tonight against the A's, 6:38 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels.
Saturday's game was no fun. It wasn't fun at all. No fun at all. Zach Plesac on the mound only went 3 1/3 innings. It wasn't great after the bullpen really saved the game the night before with Sandy's injury. So for Plesac to only go 3 1/3 innings was difficult. 7 hits, 6 earned, 1 walk, 1 K. John, we mentioned in his last start that he was really lucky, had a lot of fly balls that were caught. Well, those fly balls did exactly what you said they would do. They turned into home runs at Dodger Stadium, and that's why Plesac only went 3 1/3 inning.
That's why when you have a lineup like the Dodgers who hit the ball very, very hard, those fly balls are going to turn into home runs, and that's exactly what happened. So again, I loved, don't get me wrong, I love Plesac's start the other night.
Right.
His first one back, his first win in over a year. All the props to him. But I said this because I fully believed in it. A lot of lucky fly ball outs, Mike. And in fact, Taylor Ward, I don't think it was going to be a home run, but he even had kind of a robbery up against the wall early on. And that was before everything fell apart. So at that point you were like, yeah, let's go. But
well,
then after that, it was like, well, all right, here we go. Here's
and there was a lot of, oh, he's hit that deep to left field, and Taylor Ward's there. Oh, that's deep to center field. Mickey Moniak. That's deep to right field, and Joe Adell up against the wall. And that's when you were like, this is going to get bad, because you could just see that they were tagging those pitches, and suddenly Gavin Lux figured it out. But isn't it true? The Angels, they're going to help struggling players and struggling teams figure it out. Gavin Lux was crushing everything that they threw at him on Saturday night.
Now, Carson Fulmer did get into this game after Zach Plesac. He walked the next 2 batters and forced in a bases loaded run, Mike, with that. Yeah. He has been the long relief guy that they turn to when they didn't want to or don't want to turn to Jose Suarez, because he's currently up for waivers. I think today's the last day. We'll find out if he stays in the organization or not. But Carson Fulmer has been a serviceable long relief guy, not going to blow you away, not super spectacular. He's definitely had his moments, but coming out and walking those next 2 batters was definitely a struggle. There was a couple of bad calls from the umpire in this one as well, but also behind the plate, there was a particular catch I saw from Fulmer, or that O'Hoppe caught behind the plate, and it was a strike, but because of the way his glove was moving, it came out of the zone. And so on automatic balls and strike, it would have been a strike, but the human element of it took away the strike. So all of that to say, he's been serviceable. He is who he is. It is interesting that he was such a high draft pick at one point for the White Sox, and now he's with us. And maybe we're kind of seeing why he didn't flourish. But other than that, I gotta give him some props. Look, you're facing the Dodgers lineup. You have filled in adequately as a long relief guy, and so I don't have anything bad to say about Carson Fulmer. It's just kind of a lose-lose situation at that point.
Yeah, big news in this game was the Zach Neto injury. He was removed from the game with left calf tightness. Now, he fouled a ball off of his leg,
right,
and that one looked like it really hurt, and it was literally off the bat and then went right down to his leg. The velocity didn't slow down at all, and then he was going back on the play, and he was going to do that slide kind of jump and throw to first base move, but you could see his leg kind of buckle underneath. I thought it was his knee.
Yeah,
I was grateful it wasn't his knee, and it sounds like he's expected to play today, and Wash was kind of relatively unconcerned that this is a major issue, which is great. And also good news, because Neto's been great the last 2 months, John. Since April, he has been a top 5 qualified shortstop in weighted runs created plus, 137, OPS, 850, slugging, 525, and his batting average has been 285. So he's been somebody that has really helped carry this team, and so to lose him was difficult. And I know that we were down at that point 7-1, but even not having his bat in that lineup anymore and replacing it with a Stefanik, even though Michael Stefanik maybe can make contact, you're definitely losing a Zach Neto pop. You're losing Big Papa's pop in the lineup when Michael Stefanik comes in, and you're
good
not
recovery. Good recovery there. Yeah. Listen, this is encouraging to me because, I talked about it on Friday during the Fan Mail Friday. Somebody asked, what's up with the inconsistency with the offense? And I said, it really comes down to the young guys learning on the job again. And we talked about it the other day, Mike, with Zach Neto, who said Johnny Washington told him to be selective with that leg kick back in spring training.
Yep.
And Zach got away from it. Well, I don't know about you, but when I was 20-something, I didn't do everything I was told to do either. So,
Right.
And I honestly, I think that's kind of what it is. I talked about Joe Adell on Friday and how he's gotten away from his short, compact swing that made him successful at the beginning of the season. And so to see Neto make the change and stick with it and remember what he's supposed to do well, I have full confidence that somebody like Joe Adell can do the same thing. Logan O'Hoppe has obviously made some adjustments because he has been tearing up the month of June. And I am riding high on my fantasy team because I've got him as a catcher for my team, but he hit his 10th home run in this one. And so even though it was a disappointing end to the game, 7-2, look, you're not going to get to Glass now.
Right.
He's the ace of this Dodger staff. They traded and extended him. And because they really wanted somebody to front this staff. And so they went and got Glasnow over the offseason. Really smart because Glasnow, when he's healthy, is an ace. And I think is he finally over the 111 innings pitched? That's been his career high. And I got to look that up, but I think he's getting close to that, or if not already surpassed it. And when he's healthy, he's on. So I didn't have a lot of expectations for this game, but what I did expect was Zach Plesac and those fly balls. And that I was like, those are not going to stay in the yard. And I don't know about you out east, Mike, but out here in LA, it was hot. So that ball must have been flying around the yard because the air was dry. It was like hot until like midnight on Saturday night. Right. So just no chance whatsoever. You got a fly ball pitcher going in to Dodger Stadium in the hot heat against Glasnow and the Dodgers lineup. Just not a good situation, but it is good to know that Zach Neto is probably going to be okay. And O'Hoppe was able to do some things offensively as well.
Everydayers, it's time to order supplies from the website that's made for skilled trades. You can find thousands of parts from hundreds of brands in just a couple of clicks at SupplyHouse.com. That's SupplyHouse.com. They give you 24/7 access to a huge selection of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies. Plus, you get fast delivery anywhere in the United States. If you need help with an order, you get industry-leading after-sales service from their friendly and knowledgeable customer support team, and you get to talk to a real person every single time. And here's the great news for plumbers and technicians and contractors. Being a pro has its perks. The trade industry professionals can join their free Trade Master program. Get free shipping, serious discounts on every order. You can order thousands, hundreds of thousands of pros have already ordered and been a part of this, and they've trusted the Trade Master program to deliver results. You can apply for membership right now at supplyhouse.com/TM, and you can save time and money when you order online at supplyhouse.com. Order plumbing, HVACs, and electrical supplies at supplyhouse.com. Real people in real service.
Mike, I've been asked this question a lot on social media, in particular from one particular person, but I think we're all good now. I think everything's been resolved. Just a little troll problem, but I think that we hashed it out. I think we're okay now. Do we miss Ohtani? Do the Super Halo Bros miss Ohtani? I've got some thoughts, and I know you do as well. And this weekend, well, it certainly gave us some reasons to reminisce and think about what we do miss about Ohtani, including the month of June, like you said. That was sure a lot of fun when he's on your side, and now it's not a lot of fun when he's on the other side of it. But Mike, when it comes to Shohei Ohtani, do you miss having him on the Angels?
This is a difficult conversation because anytime you say anything that could be deemed as a slight at Ohtani or an insult to Ohtani, there are people that will go to bat for him, and they will think that you have committed the ultimate sin and you have to be offed from the universe and thrown into the moon. And so when we decided to have this conversation, we both went, should we? Right.
Should we?
And so
do we?
So for clarity, you can clip this and post this. Mike and John love Shohei Ohtani.
Yes.
And we love the man. We love the player. We love Shohei Ohtani. It was frustrating when he left, but we know that that's not on him. That's on the Angels organization. So I'm prefacing all of that with these comments. John, I miss him as a person because he seems to have great character. Yeah. Obviously was very concerned about Sandoval and his injury. He was kind of, laughing a bit with Rengifo at third base. I mean, I love that stuff. He seems to be a well-liked, great individual.
Sandoval totally got Ohtani out on Friday, by the way. That ball 4 call was definitely a strike.
Right.
I'm sure he was giving him some grief.
It was that extra
Saturday
pitch that hurt his elbow. That's
exactly.
So I miss Ohtani as a person. I miss Ohtani as a player because having him on the team and watching him play and do what he does is so phenomenal. And when he was hitting and pitching, that was even better. And so it'll be really interesting to see how Dodger fans respond to him next season. And I hope that he does really well. Johnny, where I don't miss Ohtani is as a teammate on the Angels. And here's what I mean by that. He didn't help us win. And I know that it takes the whole organization. I know that it's Artie. I get all of the narrative that's around it. But here's what's going to happen this year. We finished in 4th place last year with Shohei Ohtani. This year, we're going to finish in 4th place without Shohei Ohtani.
You think that's his fault as a teammate, or how do you mean?
What I mean by this is that he was good, but he wasn't good enough to get us to the promised land. He wasn't good enough to help us cross the line of the playoffs. Again, I get that it's a team sport. I get that baseball takes a lot of different players. It's different than football and it's different than basketball. But Shohei Ohtani didn't have a significant impact on the bottom line record of the Angels. And John, as an Angel fan, I want players that are going to help us get to the playoffs. And so if we have to build from the inside out and run with Neto and O'Hoppe and some of these guys, and they get us to the playoffs, great. I'm just so tired of watching the MVP of the league on our team put up fantastic numbers and finish with 73 wins. I'm so tired of that.
Could you say the same thing maybe about like Trout? Because he's been MVP. And
absolutely. Yeah. He's on our team, so I'm still going to root for him. Right. And I love him. I love him as a person, and I love him as a player. But Trout hasn't made a significant impact on this team as well. Been to the playoffs once in his time with the Angels. And so I want to keep him. I don't want him to go anywhere. Maybe perhaps we could talk about if the Angels should trade him in the future, right? But I want players on this team that are going to help us get to the playoffs. I want David Ortiz's. I want the Derek Jeters. I want those types of players. And perhaps O'Hoppe and perhaps Neto and some of those guys are going to be those guys. I have hope that they could be those guys. But I'm tired of rooting for the MVP on our team and not rooting for a playoff team. And so I miss Ohtani as a player. I miss him as a person. Don't miss him as a teammate in this organization because we didn't go anywhere with him. And so I want players on this team that are going to help us get to the playoffs. So give me Kurt Gibson, 1988, who won the MVP with like a 270 batting average and 20 home runs, but they won the World Series. I want that type of player that's going to get us across the finish line and we can celebrate wins in Anaheim moving forward. Well,
I think your overall point speaks to the fact that like a superstar doesn't cut it. And we all know Trout and Ohtani and even Rendon, they didn't play a lot of games together. It was like 30% of the games that they could have played together or out of 100 is what they played, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we can wax poetic about, well, it was this injury and that injury, and the Angels didn't sign starting pitching to go around Ohtani or Trout or what have you, right? And so I guess what I'm trying to say is you're right. It takes more than a single superstar, be it Ohtani or anybody else, to get you somewhere.
Right.
You've got to have the supporting cast around them. Mike, do I miss Shohei Ohtani? There are things that I miss about Shohei Ohtani. I think you mentioned him. The character always has been a stand-up guy. Always seemed to take great concern in what he does. And every time he goes out onto the field, he competes. And that's what you want to see from a guy like that. And the proof is in the pudding. He is on his way to being an MVP again, even without the pitching.
Right.
And I will defend him because I guess what I'm trying to say is when he was on our team, I would defend him to the ends of the earth because there's still that narrative of like, oh, he's a great hitter, but he's a mediocre pitcher. Like, get out of here. Right. He's got one of the best ERAs over the last 3 years. Top ERA.
When a guy can say, I got to strike this guy out, and goes from throwing mid-90s to 101 because he's got to strike the guy out because the runner's at third and he doesn't trust his defense, that's remarkable, right?
I guess what I will say is, yes, I wish that things could have gone differently, but I've talked about this a million times. The Angels ownership does not see the opportunity to make back that 700 million plus more,
right?
Within 2 years, 3 years, probably even faster than that. I'm sure the Dodgers are already.
They probably made it back already.
Right? I guess what I will say is I don't miss the idea that you can't criticize Ohtani in the sense that he's above reproach. And what I mean by that is we talk about Angels baseball and we talk about the players who are doing good. We criticize and critique the players who are doing bad. And I feel like every time we critiqued Ohtani for not coming through in a moment or something like that, that's when we would get piled on.
Yeah.
But I also understand, it doesn't matter how much you preface it with, I understand he got them 12 RBIs to tie the game in the ninth, but he's also got to come through in the ninth, in the extra inning, right? It was always ridiculous scenarios like that. I guess what I mean to say is I think I have felt a sense of relief this season because it feels like, kind of like what you were saying, the Angels have had their superstars on this team with Trout and Pujols and Ohtani. And I kind of like talking about guys who to us are not no-name scrubs, but maybe to the rest of MLB are like, who's that guy? Who's Zach Neto? You know what I mean? I kind of like it. I like being in this underdog position. And so I guess what I mean to say is what I don't miss about Ohtani is maybe the attention that comes with him. And that's not his fault. No. I mean, he's a phenomenal player because he's a phenomenal player. And of course he's going to get attention, but then you get your Verlanders and your Dodger blogs and just all that stuff. It's just like, okay, you're here for Shohei. I get it. And I think, I guess what I'm trying to say is I kind of like getting back to Angels baseball, even though it's a bad season right now. I don't think it's going to last forever. Obviously the ownership, we're over the ownership. We're over the way the front office is run. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I just like talking about my favorite team and how they're growing, how they're changing, what could be better. Will they make the trades they need to make at the trade deadline? Those are the conversations that I enjoy having. And without the pressure of they got to get Ohtani to the playoffs because this is their last chance. And now it's I don't know. It's kind of funny. They're not good, but I'm okay with it because they're not trying to get somebody to the playoffs. All of that to say, I just kind of, I wish him the best. I'm not mad at him for taking the deal that he did. It does kind of sting that it's the Dodgers, but also what do I care? They're not in our division. They're not going to hurt us. So I am happy for him. At the same time, I think the attention on the Angels, I'm kind of glad that's gone. And I think that maybe someday we'll get to a point where the young guys will be well known and they will bring good attention upon the Angels, and they'll do it as a unit. They won't need a superstar. They'll do it as a unit. They'll do it together. That's the kind of Angels baseball I like. I think that's what got them to the World Series in 2002. And I think that that's what they can be again someday, maybe after ownership sells. But in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy watching these young guys.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen to the day. The Angels play the A's at 6:38 Pacific time at home, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show. Get in the comment section on YouTube. Find the episode. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps out Mike and I more than you know when you hit that like button. Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
Nelson is not back with the big club. The answer is actually pretty surprising. So we'll give you that answer tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right. Looking forward to that conversation. Miguel Sano, why is he a no-no for the Halos? Sorry, I shouldn't have done that. All right, friends. Until next time, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday.